Let's throw our hands in the air as we soar through the sky.
Yatta!
We'll catch the sun with your hand in mine, and if we work as a team, everything will be fine.
Yeah!
Oh, it's Cure of the What Now?
Let's henshin and start the show!
Hello, fellow quiz show hosts and participants, and welcome to episode 24, part 2 of Cure of the What Now, also known as episode 25. This is the only show where we know the best way to win a quiz show is to get derailed by a monster at the last second and have to henshin your way out of the mess. My name is Kat, I'm the host of the show, and I am just so excited to be here on my favorite television program to talk about my hometown that I adore.
Excellent, excellent. I'm your co-host, Joel, and answers in the form of questions only, please. That's it.
What is Minami Kaido?
Minami Kaido is, in fact, the correct answer for many of life's problems.
Quick announcement. I'm sure that you know this if you are listening to this, but last week's episode didn't go up due to some personal stuff. We were sick.
I blame the intern.
Yeah, it's the intern's fault. But it will be going up this week along with this one. So instead of getting one episode this week, you get a double feature. That's exciting.
Absolutely.
Joel, did we have any other announcements before we get into this week's discussion question?
I don't believe that I do, no.
Excellent. So what is the discussion question you've prepared for us today?
Yes, in honor of the theme of quiz show of this episode of Cure of the What Now, if each of the Tropical Rouge girls were going to host their own quiz show with their own unique spin on it, because we've seen a lot of reality TV show or competition TV shows that kind of take the quiz and change it in some way, what kind of quiz shows would they host?
So I think that Minatsu would do something really weird. Like, you've seen some of the really odd Japanese quiz shows that they have.
Sure.
So she'd have one where, like, some piece of furniture in the room was made of tropical melon bread, and you had to find it and take a bite out of it, and then you got a chance to answer the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so your answer would, your score would be judged not only on how you answered, but also how quickly you found the item that was made out of melon pan.
Exactly.
All right. I like that a lot.
Minori would have a version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, where if you get the answer wrong, she gets to punch you in the balls.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I could see that. I could also see that there's different fruits with the answers, with different answers written on them, and you have to find the correct one and eat it, or something like that. Or I could also see her maybe, well, she's not that nerdy, but could you imagine if she overcomplicated it, where, like, you get 5 questions, and you're not told if your answer to the first one was correct or not until later, and each answer had, like, a symbol next to it, and so your final answer was you had to take all 5 symbols and rearrange it into some kind of, like, pattern or whatever. So if you get even one wrong, the pattern will look wrong.
Okay, that's clever. I like that.
And then also it would be some kind of sports thing. Like, you'd have to hit a tennis ball across the net into the target that represented the answer that you thought was correct.
You've seen that thing where 2 people have, like, the giant Q-tips and they're on a balance beam? Asuka would be into that, I think.
Okay, yeah. That's the sudden death. Like, you have a bunch of people who have to answer within a certain amount of time. They have to run to the buzzer, and whoever wins gets to go on to the next round. But there's also a Team B, and when they get the correct answer, they have to face off with the Q-tips in order to determine who's the ultimate winner.
Okay. Laura would try to do just a regular old-fashioned quiz show, but all of the questions would have answers that were basically praising her. So she'd get taken off the air pretty quickly, I think.
Okay, I like that a lot. And then Sango, her whole thing is fashion, so we kind of saw something like this in this episode, but maybe the answer is on different outfits or something. So again, kind of like what I was saying with Minori, where each answer has, like, a symbol. You get, say, 3 questions, and the first question, the answers are on different hats. And the second one, the answer is on different blouses or something. The third one is on different shoes or something. And then the final round, the bonus double or nothing challenge, is you have to pick out an accessory that matches the 3 pieces of outfits that you'd already grabbed. Oh. And there'd be, like, a style competition, what's it called? Like a subjective type of score at the end for that.
Okay, I like it.
All right. And I think that's it for the discussion question.
Perfect. Do you have a succinct summary for me?
Yes. The Tropical Club accidentally mess up a TV interview that the president of the student council was giving, and she threatens to suspend the Tropical Rouge Club. But then the people who was interviewing her show up and they go, hey, we think it would be great if you were on our quiz show later, and maybe the winner could decide what happened. So if the Tropical Club team wins, then they will get to not be suspended for a short period of time, and if the student council wins, then they will be suspended. And then they participate in a series of quiz show pieces, and eventually the Tropical Club girls win. Also, Dr. Numeri just makes an appearance. It's in her contract. She's got to appear, so she just sort of shows up.
She's briefly there, and then she's gone. Okay. Did you like this episode?
Yeah, why do I always waffle? I wish I could just enjoy things fully. I liked the idea. It was kind of interesting. You got to see different people, strengths and weaknesses. So Sango got to show off her fashion sense in one of the rounds, and Manatsu and Asuka got to run real fast for the final round. And Laura cost the team a victory because she assumed the question askers would have the same knowledge of the ocean as she did. And so she ended up falling in some mud and costing them some points. But at the same time, there are some other problems with it. Like, I kind of wish that there had been like a deeper meaning to the episode, more conflict. Whereas it was mostly just the Tropical Club girls have some fun.
Yeah, I really wish they had explored the relationship between the student council president and Asuka a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely, because it seems like there's some kind of a tension there, and while they were running in the final race for the final quiz question, Asuka says something like, you're in top form as always, so like they clearly have a pass with each other, and maybe I thought that this episode was going to be when we got more of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that we were looking forward to more of that backstory being expanded upon, so.
Yeah, it seemed like there's a scar over Asuka's heart that is partially healed, but it won't be fully healed until she has a chance to, like, reconcile with this friend. Potential girlfriend, as many people in the fandom seem to be speculating, but we just didn't get any of that.
Absolutely. So overall, I would say that it was fun. I enjoyed it about as much as I enjoy any other episode. You know, the visual gags were good and the jokes were funny, but it was missing that substance piece that I think really good seasons of Precure have.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even the best seasons have episodes that kind of feel like they meander, or they're just more like enjoying the scenery, but most of Tropical Rouge has been that, so I think I'm ready for something a little deeper, but we might never get it in this season. You know, they might be playing it a little safe, and I hope that eventually they kind of go back to the old ways, because I really enjoyed that. How would you want to improve the episode? Like, do you think that, like, the final round should have been exclusively between Asuka and the other girl whose name I should look up?
Yeah, I think I would have had more of their conflict costing their individual teams points.
Okay.
And maybe cause some friction with their team members to the point where they're like, you guys do this on your own, we're out.
Ah, okay. Or maybe you could have had a scene where, like, Asuka and... Okay, I'm seriously going to look this up. Okay, so her given name is Yuriko, so that's what we will be calling her. But maybe if Yuriko and Asuka kind of went head-to-head in, like, one of the preliminary rounds, like you said, it could have almost cost them, and they might have not come in first because they were too busy bickering with each other or something, and then maybe one of the other characters, Manatsu or Laura or whoever, could pull Asuka aside and be like, you're acting a little different than usual. You wouldn't make that kind of a mistake, and maybe she should give, like, a short backstory. And if they want a later episode to go even further into that, then maybe she could give just, like, a brief overview, like, we used to be friends, and they're like, well, which is more important, you know, rubbing it in her face or Tropica shining.
Absolutely, yeah. This does not Tropica shine. Being a poor sport doesn't Tropica shine. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think that one of the few failings Tropical Rouge has is it focuses too much on Manatsu on one hand, but then on the other hand, it kind of spreads its focus out. So because kind of all of the Tropical Club members were highlighted in this episode, none of them really had a chance to, like, have any personal character growth.
Okay,
because it was about too many of them at once.
Yeah, I wonder, like, the quiz show setup, I never would, if someone had said, there's going to be a quiz show episode, and I knew the 5 characters, Laura, Manatsu, Minori, etc., I would not have guessed that this would be an episode that kind of sort of centers on Asuka, but not really. I would have assumed that it would be Minori x one of the other characters. Maybe Minori is too precise, like overly cautious in some way, and maybe Manatsu or one of the other ones could like try to teach her to loosen up, and as those two came closer together, they would do better in the quiz show.
I'll do you one better.
Yeah.
Minori was selected to be on this quiz show. And it's her favorite quiz show. She watches it all the time. She knows all the trivia. And the day before the episode airs, she gets really, really sick.
Oh.
And the quiz show host is like, well, you can tag in a substitute if you want, and then we can still film the episode. We've already got the camera crews here in your town. And so Minori's like, okay. And she goes to Asuka because Asuka is the smartest. And Asuka's a little reluctant. She doesn't really want to do it, but Minori is sick, and Manatsu encourages her, helping our friends Tropica shines, and she goes, and that's when she discovers her opponent is the student council president.
Oh, yeah, see, that would be amazing. I think that's a really good episode that we just kind of fanficked out of nowhere.
Maybe they get into a fight before they start filming, and the fight culminates in the whole, like, if I win, I'm going to cancel your club. Well, if I win, our club stays, and you have to wear a shirt that says our club is the best.
You have to wear a shirt that says Poggers. I would never.
I haven't once in my life pogged.
Yeah, I did think that it was interesting that the student council team was very efficient during the fashion round because, they had one person who was like the accountant and there was one person who was like good at like determining the different fabrics. And can I just say, I'm really frustrated that the show decided to cut the hamstrings of the Tropical Club. Like, I get that they wanted it to be like an even match or that there wasn't like a clear winner, but the fact that Laura clearly thought that there was a correct answer that was related to the Grand Ocean. The Grand Ocean, thank you. I couldn't remember the name of it. And she got it wrong, and then during the fashion round, Manatsu put the earrings on Asuka to make her look cuter, and that technically counts towards their toll, and they had to keep the number underneath, like, 10,000 yen. Come on, man. Like, those are really amateur mistakes that I wouldn't expect them to make, but makes it more interesting, I guess.
Well, and, like, even if Sango had a line as Manatsu was holding up the earrings where she'd gone, oh no, Manatsu, that'll put us over. And Manatsu had said, like, but they're so pretty, let's do it anyway. And Sango had been like, they are pretty. That would have been something.
Absolutely.
Did you have any favorite scenes or quotes that you wanted to shout out from this episode?
The final round, I think this listing summary is good enough for a general overview, but the final round, they have to give an answer of what city are you in, which is, everyone knows the answer to that. And Manatsu a couple of times he's like, oh, me, ask me. And he's like, nope, you gotta press the button in order to put the answer in. So I really like Manatsu's like over-eager energy. And he's like, I can answer that. I love this city. It's Azura. And then they realize that the only place in the city that could have a button for them to press is the Button Museum, like the Button exhibit, which is a strange exhibit, but whatever. And it becomes a race. Whoever gets there and presses the button and gives the answer will win. And, of course, among the Tropical Club, Asuka and Manatsu are the two athletes, really. Laura is good, but I don't know if she's the best at running because she's got new legs. And so the three of them are running, Yuriko, Asuka, Manatsu. And Manatsu slips on a banana peel and she goes, oh, banana. There's some cartoonish hijinks you don't often see.
Absolutely. I know we already talked about it, but I really love Laura confidently running toward the true or false board and leaping through, and the host is like, oh, she's really confident in her answer. Look how fast she's running. And then she lands in the mud.
Oh, yeah. Well, and as soon as that scene started, I knew I didn't know how she was going to get the answer wrong, but as soon as she was like, I know the answer, and she took off without even consulting the other girls, as soon as she did that, I'm like, okay, so there's going to be some misfire here. And also, Queen, who's super or Queen hopeful, Queen candidate, who's super excited to be like the best at everything, got it wrong and got mud on her face. So that's kind of funny.
Poor Laura. She's doing her best here. Now, I think I'm ready to move on to Futari Wa, if you are.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Futari Wa was also kind of a letdown this week.
Kind of, yeah.
They finally defeated Il Kubo, and they rescued Wisdom.
Piccolo's younger brother, yeah.
But Wisdom was only gone for not even a full episode. Il Kubo grabbed him at the end of the last one, and they got him back by the end of this one, so I guess that was a full episode. But literally the way he was defeated was he took their gems, he took their prism stones, and then the power of the prism stones was too much for him.
Yeah, I think there's like a metaphorical victory in here about, how light can't be taken by the darkness or that sort of thing, or the beautiful souls of the Precure. But it was kind of a meh episode. I assumed from the way that Wisdom was kidnapped at the end of the last episode that they were going to have to mount some kind of a rescue operation. They would have to weigh, we haven't been able to defeat Il Kubo before. We don't know what kind of traps might be waiting for us in the Dokutsu zone, but we have to save Wisdom. That's super important to us. And maybe there could be like a line, and maybe this is a little bit too heavy for the audience of Precure, but maybe they could have like a moment where Nagisa is like, hey, Honoka, if we get in over our heads, I'll buy you time, you get out of there. Something like that. But instead it was them reacting yet again, them being on the defensive as Il Kubo shows up and he does his evil life-sucking energy. He conjures like this ruined city and they fight him in that, and I'm not sure if that really did anything. It was sort of like a field effect spell in Yu-Gi-Oh! Except the spell was just, it changes the scenery a little bit. And the other thing, this is their defeat of what we know as the strongest villain among the general team, the strongest general among the villain team. And the fighting choreography, the animation, was very lackluster. You got a couple of scenes that were just Nagisa and Honoka punching the screen, and it wasn't really anything like dynamic or interesting. And they decide that they're going to create their own miracle, and they do that by inventing a new like spin kick, but the animation for the spin kick did not look impressive. I didn't believe that there was going to be any power behind that kick, and yet it's the thing that overpowered the evil villain.
Yeah. So the one thing this episode did introduce us to, at the very end, they finally have all of the prism stones, and it makes the rainbow bridge to the field of light.
No, it makes the rainbow bridge to Asgard. This is cultural appropriation. No, I'm kidding.
A new fairy is introduced.
Yes.
His name is Pollun, or Pollun, depending on which version you're listening to. And he's horrible. He's just a nasty little thing. And he's so cute. Visually, I like him a lot better than the other two. He's got giant ears and a little fluffy face.
Yes. He is the king of the field of...
Prince.
Prince. Okay. Of the field of rainbows? Field of light? I can't remember which one. Okay,
field of rainbows is where we live.
Perfect. And he's going to take the characters to see the queen? Or the princess? Okay, the queen. But he... So Mepple and Mepple, the one that's with Honoka, who I think is Mepple, she's kind of the... what's the word for it? She tries to keep the peace. She tries to reassure people and tries to be like, hey, remember your feelings. And the one with Nagisa is basically a brat. And he contrasts with Nagisa in that way because they're both kind of bratty and they don't really get along. And then this guy shows up. I'm going to call him Pollun because that's how it was on the Verve official translation. But he shows up and he's so bratty, it makes Mepple look like he's the mature one by comparison.
He literally throws a tantrum because Honoka and Nagisa are like, we don't want to go to the field of light. And he's like, no! The queen said Precure have to come! And he throws himself on the ground and he's freaking out.
Although, I will say, he does seem like the sort of character, and you'll have to tell the story, but he does seem like the sort of character who would shout that he didn't order chicken nuggets, you know?
All right, fam. So, we're sitting at a restaurant the other day for our anniversary. Happy anniversary to Joel and I, we did it. But we're sitting at the restaurant, And all of a sudden, we hear this kid a couple tables over scream. And he has so much passion in his voice. You would think this kid was being killed or watching someone die.
I literally thought that, like, he had cut his finger, like, with a knife or something.
And we look over, and he's thrown himself back against the booth, and he raises his voice again, and at the top of his lungs, he screamed, "I never asked for chicken nuggets!" And he continued sobbing and yelling about chicken nuggets for, like, 20 minutes.
It was incredible, you know?
I don't want to make fun of someone's pain. But kid, who doesn't like chicken nuggets? Why didn't you ask for chicken nuggets? What's wrong with you?
But yeah, so we'll just have to see where this goes. I wonder if, again, kind of like how Pollun is like the worse version of Mepple, I wonder if the queen is going to be like a more regal version of Mepple when we meet her.
So Mepple is the princess of the Field of Light. Did you get the impression that this little green fairy is her younger brother? Because that's what I'm thinking.
Sure. I mean, I guess so.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see where he goes. Do you think we're going to get a third member of the Futari Wa team?
Okay, so my answer, if I didn't have any foreknowledge, would be maybe, because new fairy seems to be, at this point, one fairy for each Precure. On the other hand, I would say no, both because we haven't met a character yet who is, like, interacting with the Precure in like a potential, you know, introduction. And then also because I know that this season only has the two.
Right. Well, and we have foreknowledge in that Fresh Precure was the season to introduce the mid-season cure gimmick.
That's true. And we also know that Yes, Precure 5 was the show to introduce the idea of having more than two per season. Well, I guess the first one to have 5, so there could still be a third one, I suppose.
Absolutely. But those are kind of all my thoughts on Futari Wa. I'm curious to see where we go from here, what the bad guys are going to look like. Is bringing the Field of Light back a good thing? Is something going to happen? Tune in next time.
The thing about this genre, and the fact that Precure is not, what's the word? It's not subversive, right? It plays to the tropes. The Field of Light can't be anything but a perfect idyllic place where everything tastes like ice cream and there is no, you know, sickness or anything like that. But I am very curious what's going to happen in the next episode, because we've had 24 episodes of our goal is to restore our homeland. Well, all of the evil generals are gone, and the Field of Light has been restored, and the Precure have gotten all 7 Prism Stones. So I don't know what's going to happen next. I can't predict. I'm going to assume that they go, and maybe there's like a tiny evil shadow gremlin in Nagasa's pocket. And when they arrive, as Nagasa and Honoka are looking around, they're like, wow, is that a tower made purely of waffles with the exact right amount of syrup on it? The little gremlin will jump out of her pocket and run into the forest. And then they'll have like tea time with the queen, and the queen will be like, yes, thank you for saving. Everything is happiness and whatever. Here's a coupon to go to the cafeteria, check out the gift store. And then the gremlin will like corrupt the land, and those will be the new bad guys that show up.
Okay, I like that a lot. I think I'm ready to move on to our tweets in a bottle.
Yeah, so really quickly, like we said, we've been kind of busy. That's why the episode didn't go up, and I've started a new job, and all this other stuff is happening. I did not find time to watch an episode of Kira Kira Precure a la Mode this episode. I will make a solemn Cotwin promise. That's right, folks, you heard it here. I will watch 3 episodes of Kira Kira before episode 26 of Cure of the What Now. So I think I've seen up to 26, so I will watch 27, 28, 29. If I'm wrong on the episode numbers, I'll watch whatever 3 are appropriate, but that's what my plan is. And if I don't do that, I don't know what my punishment shall be. I shall leave that to my host and producer, Kat, to come up with something appropriate.
Ooh, I certainly will. I will come up with something appropriate for you.
All right, fantastic. We had the one tweet in the bottle from our good friend Santa Claus, the original Precure. No, of course not. James, that one welder guy, he basically echoed our thoughts that we mentioned earlier, that a better ending would have been if both the Student Council and the Tropical Club both lost because they were caught up in their own feud. Let me offer another possible solution, although it'd be hard to get this one to work, but what if they were fighting, not getting along, costing each other points. They weren't really participating for like the sportsmanship. They were getting kind of mean and gremlin-y with each other. And then the bad guy shows up and interrupts the quiz show. And for whatever reason, maybe Asuka and them can't transform because the student council will see. So in human form, they have to work together to overcome the Yarine Da. And then that's what caused them to realize, like, oh, we've been kind of petty and mean to each other all day.
I love that. That's a great take.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I do actually have one other tweet in a bottle.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I do. Now, this wasn't directly tweeted at us, which is why I think Joel thought we only had one. But I follow a person on Twitter called Cure Hibiki. It's at Cure Hibiki01. And this individual said that they're expecting the new group attack to happen in the next 6 or 7 episodes, which seems reasonable. They usually get another group attack around episode 30 if you're going from meta-knowledge. And she's saying she really wants their group attack to be a cannon. And that goes back to that time that Manatsu was imagining the fish cannon. There's actually a picture of it in the tweet. That was so cool. I really do hope they get that cannon. That's all I wanted to say about that
will it
tweet.
shoot? Will it shoot rainbows, do you think, maybe?
Yeah, I could see that. Being like the My Little Pony Equestria Girls final attack.
Well, and I mean, rainbows are, they've long been a symbolism of like goodness and purity, and Pretty Cure seasons and a lot of magical girl shows have bright colors, and what's more brightly colored than a rainbow. But one thing I did notice, I can't remember if we commented on, I'm almost positive we did, like in the first couple of episodes, but I realized that the color scheme for the cures this season are sunset and sunrises. And I think that's a really cool thing. So maybe it won't be a rainbow, but maybe it'll be like,
Sunbeam Hurricane! Yeah,
the sunrise cannon or something like that. Sunrise bombardment. How about that?
That's cool. I love that. You should write pre-cure seasons. You know what else I realized when we were watching this episode? That maybe we pointed out before, but maybe we didn't. Cure Flamingo's individual big attack, the Flamingo Smash, it looks like she's swinging a tennis racket.
Yeah, she has like... It kind of looks like a fish fin, but I think it's supposed to be like the flamingo foot. But she swings it like a tennis racket in order to hit the giant sun ball at the opponent. So, gosh dang, I hope that either they explore Asuka's story here, or she gets a spin-off manga that's just about her adventures sans the Precure team.
Delightful.
I will say, these technically... So in our Discord, which you can join, we have a Thoughts from the Crew channel, and that's where we got the idea that, or the comment that this episode kind of didn't have a really satisfying ending. But we also have a Precure and Toku channel, which is where we post like screenshots and stuff and tweets. And James there pointed out that this is the second time that we've used Kururun as a paperweight, which is really one of the only things that they can contribute to the team at all. But they put him on this banner they were trying to post at the beginning of the episode, hang at the beginning of the episode. And then there's another shot, which I'm guessing will be in our thumbnail, but I haven't made it yet. But at the very beginning of the episode, when the Tropical Club people have been brought into the student council president's office in order to be kind of reprimanded, Asuka gets kind of heated and is like, you're being a little harsh. And she's like, I'm not being harsh enough. And then they lean in and they're like glaring at each other. And James captioned it with just kiss already, which is exactly what Kat and I said out loud when we were watching the episode, because, man, they really know how to add some subtext to these characters, huh?
They really do. Joel, I have 2 paths you can take to lead us out of this episode.
Okay, one of them is a freestyle rap.
You may speculate on what the big group attack might be in the next 6 to 7 episodes, or you can give me your idea for what the episode of Kira Kira you missed was about.
No, I'm definitely more comfortable guessing about... Attacks. Just because I do generally know what happens later in episodes of Kira Kira, and I know what the episode title is, and I'm like, oh, is this the one where Aoi has a concert or something? So, my guess is that they will transform Kururun into a cannonball or a shot put, and they will launch Kururun at the Yarnado's face, and Karurin will spin and do a tail slap directly into their head and destroy them.
It's funny you should say that, because when we were talking about the cannon, that's actually what I was going to say, was I only want a cannon attack if Karurin is their cannonball.
Well, so at first, when you said name a final attack, my thought was, what if each Precure girl gets a different way to use Karurin as a weapon? So, like, Minori's is Karurin turns into the end of, like, a flail, and she, like, whips him around and bats him into... But that wouldn't be a team attack, so I had to revamp my idea.
When Manatsu throws him, he circles around and comes back. Call that the Karurunarang.
Excellent.
That has been your do final thought. Outro goes here.
Thanks everyone for listening, and don't forget to Tropica Shine.
Pretty cute.
Today you'll be dancing with me.
Buff Karurun, is that you?
Karurun. Ha-ha! What a great episode of King of the What Now, your One Piece podcast that started from the very beginning and stars these two doofuses. If you want to follow us on social media, Twitter is the best place to do that. I am at KOTWN_pod.
And I am at Pirate Ghost Host.
Absolutely, yes. We share all sorts of thoughts on there, some related to the podcast, some related to other things. But you can also reach us through email at KingOfTheWhatPod@gmail.com, or you can also find us on Patreon. We would love some subscribers or supporters, whatever the technical term is. Patrons. So fancy and grown up. And you can find that at patreon.com/KingOfTheWhatPod. You can find all sorts of things like bonus episodes, and you get to see the full cold open candidates, not just the ones that make it into the episode. Maybe someday if I learn to draw, I'll put stuff up there. We're always looking for suggestions and feedback. And speaking of which,
please take a moment to rate and review our podcast wherever you get us from. So iTunes, Spotify, Scrivener, that's for writing. But wherever you listen to our podcast, take a moment to leave a review. It helps other people find us. We are so grateful to all of our listeners, and we couldn't do this without you.
Absolutely. Word of mouth is super powerful, so if you have a friend who likes One Piece and they haven't heard of us, just direct them to the latest episode. And if they hate us, they can tell us why. And if there's an actionable item, we'll try to please you. That's how this works. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.